Well, I taught property tax law for 24 years at Chicago-Kent Law School, and I beg to differ. I think I know a lot about the property tax system, and what I've just outlined is not what you just said. A taxpayer action board can help the people of our county and our state hold down tax levies that are unfair. They can ferret out waste and fraud. Helping people put together an assessment is a very important mission. I've done that for the last 30 years. And I think it's important to appeal your assessment when you know there might be mistakes in the assessment. That is one part of your tax bill. Another part is the levy, and the third part is the rate. And related to that are the equalization factors or multipliers. This is very complicated. For most people, they hear these terms and they're completely befuddled. That's why you need to have an organization, seems to me, much like CUB. I was told the same thing by a fellow from ComEd. He didn't say baloney, but he said this won't happen. But we did get the Citizen Utility Board to help consumers deal with a very complex matter that affects their lives. Property taxes, the largest tax system in Illinois, been with us a long time, and it needs to be reformed. And I think these proposals this week can go a long way to reforming a system that needs fundamental improvement.
Governor, why introduce this week? And isn't Speaker Madigan against extending the cap?
Well, I've talked to the Speaker as well as the President of the Senate really for the past month or so. I have told them since I've been governor that I think property tax relief and reform are subjects that we must attend to, and I did not want this week to go by without laying down for the month of May, here we are at the beginning of May, a outline of what we can do to reform the property tax system right now that will help literally millions of taxpayers. You know, the Citizen Utility Board has saved consumers literally billions of dollars since it became part of our law back a quarter century or more ago. And I think the same thing can happen in this arena. We cannot have one person trying to battle a huge behemoth of a property tax system. We need to have, I think, organized taxpayers. Taxpayer action board is the way to do it.
But this isn't really reforming the system. This is, establishing these boards and extending the cap for a year. This isn't about overhauling it this week.
Well, extending the cap is an emergency measure. It basically recognizes that assessments cannot go up at a time when we have such dire straits in the property tax area, where people can hardly afford to pay their taxes. They may be subjected to foreclosure and so on. That's an emergency measure. I think it should be passed. I think it should be extended, number one. But we have a structural change here with the Taxpayer Action Board. There were those, even the world's greatest newspaper, that said that the Citizen Utility Board would not be effective. They said it would be, as I recall, when we put it on the ballot back in 1983, they said this was a meaningless plebiscite that will amount to nothing, the Citizen Utility Board. Well, I beg to differ. I think over the last quarter century, CUB has been an effective voice for ordinary, everyday people in a complex area of utility rates. I think we need the same kind of group for folks who are fed up with their property tax bill, who want change and fundamental reform.
But CUB is statewide and centralized. This would be these boards at every county level. I mean, how do you affect real change on a mass level?
Well, it would be set up county by county. The reason it's important, it seems to me, is the property tax system is administered at the county level. You have a supervisor of assessment in suburban counties. Here we have what's called an assessor. Then you also have the treasurer, and you have the county clerk, and you have a county board. So the property tax system, its administration in Illinois, is at the local county level. So you need to have an organization that people, let's say in Cook County, under the terms of this proposal, this law that we're backing, people would be able to go out, get a certain number of signatures to put on the ballot whether or not they want a taxpayer action board in their county. And if the voters say yes, then these inserts would be put into tax bills and assessment notices to alert people of the opportunity to join an organization that will fight for their interests. I believe in organizing and grassroots organizing, and these inserts from CUB have made a huge difference for consumers, and I think the same principle can apply to property tax reform and relief.
Governor, you're talking about relief, property tax relief now. Vote on it this week. It'll help, overburden families. But at the same time, the state's education system relies so much on property taxes. That situation is in a dire crisis.
Mhm.
So what impact, how could education even survive if this were to pass next week? And what is the current situation with education funding in the state?
A lot of this is about fairness, making sure you have a fair assessment, making sure your levies are fairly and properly done, making sure you have all the information you need about what you're paying. That's what this is about. Now, some of it is about finding any kind of waste or fraud in local property tax jurisdictions. Now, having said that, I do believe that the state of Illinois should pay a greater share of the education investment in Illinois. The state constitution says that the state should be primarily responsible for financing the system of public education in Illinois. And I think we have work to do there, and I have proposed ideas to do that right now, dealing with our school districts all across Illinois.
Are you talking about the 1% income tax
The
hike?
1% surcharge I favor. I think that's a proper way to invest in education. But having said that, I've been in this vineyard of property tax relief and reform for many years. I was elected in 1982, so that would be a long time ago. 28 years ago is when I first got elected to office. It was on the issue of property tax reform and relief. So as governor of Illinois, I think I have a chance this month of May to try and get some of these fundamental reforms in property taxes adopted. I think you need a governor who takes his position and pushes the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate and the members along. I think it's especially important in light, especially in Cook County, of the fact that people in the fall, or whenever the tax bills arrive for the second installment, may receive a very high tax bill that isn't fair. So we need to act on this cap, that's the emergency, but at the same time use this opportunity to reform the structure.
But can I just ask a follow-up? But wouldn't,
Sure.
if this passed, wouldn't this further strain an already strained education system? And how would the education system in the state recover from losing more money? Because I
Well,
don't think anyone's ready to vote on this 1% income tax
Yeah.
surcharge.
Reforming the property tax system is something I think we have to do for the benefit of education. We should not be using a decrepit 19th century antiquated property tax system to fund the most important part of the 21st century, education. That's why I believe that there should be more state funding from Springfield for education, so it isn't relied upon so much at the local level by using the property tax.
But right now, but that's in theory, and that's something that people are saying in the future we can perhaps get that done. But right now, wouldn't this all further strain an already?
No, I don't think so. Matter of fact, I think a taxpayer action board would recognize an over-reliance on the property tax system, not only the need to have fair appeals and more openness and more information and ferret out waste and fraud, but also the need for fundamental reform at reducing property taxes. And I think that having an organization like this would be a very strong voice for reform of the property tax system. And so I don't accept the fact that education would suffer. I think, in fact, it would benefit from having a reform in how it's financed. We shouldn't use and overuse the property tax system to fund the most important part of jobs in the 21st century, and that's our school system.
So, Governor, is the Speaker and the President going to call us for a vote? Do you expect to testify on it this week, and when?
Well, that's a good idea. I might do that. I have to get the schedule. I have not been shy about going to the legislature on important measures, and we did that with ethics, did with the public pension reform. So I think that could happen. You know.